knows what room you're in.
The meeting has started, so we've started the recording. And so I'm going to turn the meeting over to, hang tight. Brady, are you on yet? I don't see Brady yet.
It says he's
What's that?
says he's waiting in the lobby.
Yeah,
Yeah, bring him in.
oh, okay.
There he is. Check him. There you go.
Oh, we got Brandon too.
Oh, okay. Well, heck, we're good to go.
You there, Brandon?
Yes. Can you hear me or am I still muted?
Yeah, no, we can hear you. You can see us all?
Yeah, I can see you guys.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go ahead and bring the meeting to order at 6:04. Did have an agenda here. What happened to our
You need
agenda?
agenda? Here you go.
Let's pass them down.
You all
I'm gonna share my screen so that you guys just pass those down.
Oh.
I'm gonna share my screen so we can all see everything. Hey, Brady. We can see you.
Hello.
Can you see
How
us?
are you?
Good. Welcome.
Good.
I have to share. Okay, there's the agenda. All right, everybody can see the agenda? Everybody, can you see the agenda? Can you see my shared
Yep.
screen?
Sure can.
Yep, I can see it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to open the comments. Unfortunately, Dave has a very important public hearing that he's attending tonight in Castleton on the air quality permit for a new soybean crushing plant out there, and it was going to be a pretty important meeting, so he had to defer. He sends his greetings, and he told me I better represent the DEQ well, so I'm here tonight. We also want to introduce our newest member, Brady Pelton. And Brady, thanks so much for taking on the responsibility to become our 5th board member.
That's my pleasure.
I'm going to just take the advisory board roll call verbally, and then I'm going to turn the meeting over to Matt, our newest and greatest president of the Petroleum Tank Release Compensation Fund, the only president that we've ever had. Chairman. Okay, chairman.
Highly paid.
Highly paid. That's correct. So I'm going to start by I know Tony Bernhardt is gone. He couldn't attend. Matt Bjornson,
Present.
Paul Much,
Present.
Brady Pelton,
Present.
and Brandon Turnbow.
Present.
Okay, and Brady and Brandon are joining us virtually. So we thank you for getting in on our Teams link. We also have Ruben Penchel here from the Underground Storage Tank Program. He has a presentation tonight. And Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you and we can go through the agenda.
Thank you. First of all, could we tell the group who else is on this call right now?
I have to take a look.
I think James is on there, maybe Maggie Olson.
Yeah, Jim Nicolai is on representing the fund as our legal counsel, and then Maggie Olson is also on representing the DEQ. And I don't think we have anybody else that I'm aware of. 5 more. No, I don't show anybody else on the meeting. We have one guest from the DEQ, Lawrence Hanson, has joined us. And Lawrence is with Water Quality. Thanks for attending, Lawrence. Can you hear us? I think Lawrence can hear us.
First of all, I think prior Dwayne had sent out this guidance document for public meetings. And I encourage you all to read it. And I'd like to thank James for providing that to us. It was very helpful. You want to look at the June 29th minutes, review them if you haven't already, and I'll wait for someone to make a motion to approve.
Does everybody have a copy of the minutes? Probably not. There's copies here.
I'll shoot one down. Thank you.
Did you email
getting
those
to
out, Chris Blaine?
I emailed them with the packet, yeah.
Okay, so I should have it here.
Yeah, it would be the third item on your agenda list. I'm scrolling down. You should be able to see it on your computer screen.
Oh, okay.
You find it?
Yep.
Brandon?
Yep.
Okay. We had some pretty good in-depth discussions at the meeting. And 11 should actually be 16 instead of 11. Looks like I can't count. So that would be the one correction to the minutes.
So I'll modify the request after reading it. Anyone want to make a motion to approve with the one correction? 11 should be 16.
Yeah, no T.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah,
Paul
right
Mark
here.
makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Brandon.
Brandon seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so minutes are approved. Wayne or Ruben, do you want to talk about the administrative rules for ASDs?
I'll go ahead and talk about the administrative rules, but it's not for the above ground storage tanks. It's our petroleum tank release compensation fund rules,
Oh.
33.1-12-01. So
Pardon me.
that's all right. I'd recommend that you pull that part of your, I've got copies for the people in the room here. There's 3 or 4 of them. So just a brief update while we're passing those out. These rules were the rules that we adopted the fee schedule in our December 22nd, 2021 meeting. They went to the Attorney General's office for review. The Attorney General's office got them back to us and said they met their criteria to move forward on July 29th, and they were forwarded to the Legislative Council, the North Dakota Legislative Council, who put it on the docket for the September 12th meeting of the Administrative Rules Council, Administrative Rules Committee. And I met in front of the Administrative Rules Committee and presented testimony, and we received no questions, and they were passed, and they were officially put into the North Dakota Administrative Code on October 1st of 2022. So those rules now are the rules that we have adopted for our tank fund. Okay, and so the biggest change that we had, a lot of the language stayed the same from what the insurance department had. And the insurance department, their rules were 4510-02, I believe. And those are being in the process of being rescinded. The Insurance Department has presented those rules to be rescinded to the legislative council. And we'll see those come off the books it's as soon as they meet with the legislative council. And then the other thing that we're working on with Maggie and Jim is to remove, actually with one of the with Eric in the Attorney General's office, to remove the section in the Century Code that was a provision that was put in to basically, I got somebody waiting in the lobby. Hang on. Let me just admit that person. Can't find that person.
There's a-
Yeah, free breakfast, scrambled eggs and ham.
She's admitted, Dwayne.
Pardon me?
I think she's admitted.
Did we get him in? Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So getting back to what I was saying, that there's a provision that was put into the Century Code by the 2019 legislature that basically stated that the funding mechanism for the tank registration dollars would be rescinded when we pass the rules. Well, the rules are passed now, so we're in the process of getting those, getting that provision basically. What am I trying to say, Maggie? Rescinded from the repealed from the Century Code. Is that right? Do I have that right, Maggie?
Yep. And we just sent that certification to Legislative Council, I think, today or Friday. So.
Okay, very good.
That pretty much cover that, Dwayne?
It does. It does. So just one other thing, we're going to be sending out notification to all of the registered tank owners in sometime in November, stating about the changes in the rules, where they can find them on our webpage, and also that they'll be getting some information on how they can rate their tanks. They'll be self-rating their tanks. And then it's starting in January, when we get our portal revised, they'll actually be able to do that electronically.
Question for you, Dwayne, is
Sure.
it possible that we just attach the rules and that guidance when you send the notice?
Could, but the mailing's gonna get thick, but if you want me to. I
Well, you're
could.
doing it by mail or electronic mail or?
No,
regular
it'll
mail?
be doing by snail mail.
Oh,
So I'm gonna have the central duplicating people do it. So it would be, I think it's what, 6 pages long? So it'd only be an extra 3 pages. So if we wanted to, we certainly could put them out.
yeah, I would recommend that we just put them in the packet. Because Paul and I would never see it otherwise.
Yeah, I certainly would not.
Okay, so noted.
You want to give us a summary, number 5 then, Dwayne?
Sure. I've got some documents here to share with you. First thing we did, of course, we did issue a memorandum in June 22nd, 2022, just basically outlining that the tank fees were coming due in July 1st of 2022. and that they could go get online and register their tanks and pay their fees. One of the things that changed in the new rules is the fact that next year the tank dues won't be due until August 1st. We made that change in the Century Code. Everybody's aware of that. This is for Paul and Matt. So that's got all of the reports. Okay, so we're going to start first. This is the registrations that we've taken in to date. $606,325. You can see that we collected very little. These are late fees here. We collected very little in late fees, $725, which is outstanding, because this is the only remaining locations that have not paid. There are only 7 of them, 6 of them. So the fund's done just a great job in collecting. There's only 9 tanks that haven't been registered. We believe that 2 of them are probably agricultural operations. One of them is a defunct business that is defaulted on some tax information. We've done some research, and it's been very difficult to work with and pretty obstinate. Another one, we're not sure if that individual is in business anymore. He had a lot of trouble last year paying his fees. And the last one, we're not sure why. I mean, that's an underground storage tank. So we've been dealing with the accounting office at the city of West Fargo, and I'm not sure. They're in violation of all the underground storage tank rules at this time. So I've been working with one of Ruben's people who's in that area.
So city of West Fargo is in violation right now
Yes,
because they haven't paid for what?
they haven't paid for their registration fees for this year. 2 years, they've got $150 or $50 worth of late fees accrued. But because
If they're that on the ball, then let them fall out. You have to
yeah,
pay something.
well, the way we've got the procedure set up now, we've actually got a procedure in place. So we issue a reminder letter in August. September, we issue late fees. October 1st, we issue late fees. November 1st, we issue the 3rd late fee letter. December, we issue the 4th late fee letter. And in January, we issue the 5th late fee letter. And the 15th, we send them a letter that states if they haven't paid in 30 days, they're no longer part of the fund. And then February 15th, we send them a letter of that their registration's been terminated, and the only way they can get back in is
So you
if they've been
send
phased
5
in.
mailings for
That's correct.
non-payment?
That's the way the fund has always done it.
And is that,
We have to follow the USD rules because they require, their rules require us to give 30 days worth of notice before we can terminate their policy.
well, you're giving them 150 days.
Well, that's the way the funds always work, Matt.
I'm just saying for discussion. Do we need to send out 5 notices?
When there's only 6 people, it doesn't take very long. We've pared that down to where we just, I mean, they get a certified letter. Doesn't cost us a lot. We're giving
What
them.
is that
everything-
costing the fund every time we send out a certified letter?
Probably about $4 or $5.
And
we
every
sent
time we
out-
send out a letter, there's an additional late fee?
Yep. Yep, so we cover our costs that way. We're giving them every chance that they can to stay in the fund.
And so once they're out of the fund, then there's a whole process that they have to follow to get back into the fund, correct?
Yeah, they have to have a phase 2 study and a tank integrity test taken. Be able to get back in the fund. Their site has to be certified as being cleaned by an environmental consultant.
How many years?
Okay,
does-
so since the fees, are now due on the 1st of August,
Nothing changes.
that still means,
Late
right,
fees still
but
go out
that-
September 1st.
Okay,
The Central
but,
Council written, it's 60 days from July 1st. Late
but
fees
they're
are
not
issued
out of
60
compliance. They're not out of compliance if they don't pay till the 1st of August, right? Because that was the issue we had
1st of
before.
August. That's correct. They're
Yep.
not,
Okay.
they're, anybody that hasn't paid fees up to this date is non-compliant. If they were to have a release, the fund wouldn't cover them.
But if they had a release in the month of July, they would
Next
still
year they'd
be
be
in
fine.
compliance. Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah, we have to
Okay.
send out, we actually have to send out an amended certificate of registration saying that their fees go through August 1st. So we're working electronically to have that available so registrants can go online and print that certificate. But we haven't
Okay.
got that ready yet.
thank you.
But we're hoping by mid-June or mid-January of 2023 that a registrant can go online to their portal and they can download that new certificate of registration. It'll be good through July 30th of 2023.
Hey, Dwayne,
Yes.
is there, say we're sending out five notices
Yep.
to them. Is that, I mean, it's said that's the way we've always done it. Is that, I mean, is that something we have to do or is that something that could be changed? Shorten that up and see, I mean, that's nice that we're giving them 5 chances, but boy, it seems like, if they weren't awake, by maybe number 3 or so that.
I just don't see it to be a problem because we had less than 20 sites that weren't compliant by the end of August.
Yeah, it is a problem. You got a municipality like West Fargo, who, if this was a taxpayer and one of their regulators, say the fire chief,
Yeah.
didn't like something, he wouldn't give them 5 notices.
Try to give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in the rules that dictate what we have to do. The only thing is that before we terminate them, we have to give them 30 days notice. The way the database was set up, to do 5 late fees. So we just haven't changed it. But this year, I mean,
So is that a changeable metric or is it?
well, we can do whatever we want. I
No,
guess.
but I mean, is it hard written into the
No,
program or
No,
you just?
well, it's written into the program, but we just changed the procedure. It's just a policy. It's a standard operating policy. It has nothing to do, it has to do with the administration of the fund. But I mean, we only sent out, the last time we only sent out 9 certified letters. And we had a response within 3 days of 3 of those sites.
So do your letters, when they get the first letter, does it say, respond to this, you'll only be notified 4 times more?
No, it doesn't say that. It says it's a non-compliance letter. You're in non-compliance. You haven't received one because you've never been non-compliant. It's pretty direct.
I think I was non-compliant one time. I think it took me once or maybe twice, and then I paid next.
Well, yeah, you thought you paid it.
Or-
I did that myself. I mean,
Yes.
I'm just saying 5 times.
I could see if we had 20 or 30 or 40 sites. But I mean, what's going to amount to is that 4 of those sites are probably not going to be insured with the fund. But the only thing that we need to do is if we do change that, and it's just a simple change of the standard operating procedure, just a modification. But we still have to give them 30 days notice before we terminate their policy.
So Ruben, question for you. Then, once someone's non-compliant with the financial responsibility, is that then brought over to you for
Yeah.
enforcement?
Yep.
And what's the penalty for non-financial responsibility?
Well, we have to look at the metrics. There's a metric that is set up. I don't remember the numbers off my head. But I think it's in the neighborhood of for financial responsibility. I would say $3,000. But I don't remember.
Well, if we only gave them 3 if we reduce that to 3 notices, that means they still have 4 months with the 30 days.
4 months to get it right.
Well, they'd actually only have, the first late fee is gonna go out in September, so that's 30 days. Because the Century Code says 60 days from July 1st. And our administrative code says that the new fees are due August 1st. So that doesn't change that first metric. They're gonna be getting their first late fee payment notice on September 1st. Then the second one would be October 1st. And then we can decide what we want to do with November.
If we shorten it up to 3 letters, then that would still make it before the first of the year. They'd have to be in compliance, right?
Yep, and then we would send out that notification of non-compliance probably December 1st, where we're gonna terminate them from, well, it would be September, October, November, yeah, December 1st. So they would be officially out of the fund December 31st of 2000, of whatever date that would be.
I think maybe what you're doing is fine and it's no big deal, but to me, it just seems like it's kind of going way above and beyond the Call of Duty. I think I'd like to make a motion to make it three notices.
I'd second that.
Not quite cutting it in half, but just shortening it up a little bit, and
So we just send out notices in September, October, November,
there you go.
and then December.
Well,
In December
this
would be the notice that we give them 30 days and then they're out.
Right.
Go ahead, Brandon.
just a thought here, but if we're charging them a late fee for every notice that we send out, isn't that a moneymaker? I mean, what's the late fee? $50?
25.
$25.
$25 per tank per month.
Right.
So, I mean, why not suck another $25 a month out of these people? I mean, again, if it was something that we were bogged down with sending out all these notices, which is not the trend right now anyway, but why wouldn't we take the money?
I'm not being sarcastic, Brandon and Matt, but if they run their tanks like they run their accounts payable, let them drop out. I mean, no insurance company is gonna give you 4 months.
Heck no. You're 100% right. I'm with you 100% there, but I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, you guys, whatever.
No, I appreciate the comment. It's a good comment.
If it's a moneymaker, then I don't know why it would be a huge deal. Just
So far we've collected $775 in late fees, and we have another $225 outstanding. So it's about $1,000 what it amounts to in late fees.
So we have a motion and a second on the table, and Brandon's contributed discussion, which is good. Is there further discussion?
Dwayne and Matt, this is Jim. Can I ask a question? Dwayne, I know that you've asked me on a couple to go to the extent of contacting or sending them a dunning letter from our office and then threatening to forward information to prosecuting attorneys for a criminal violation. But I don't remember the criteria that was used for those when we took that extra step instead of just telling them that they're not covered anymore. Can you?
I recall the incident. That was, I think we gave him, that was in the January letter, and we gave him till February 15th to pay, and that was a significant amount of money. That was like $7,500. So we went after it and we got it. Our collection rate is outstanding. I mean, I'm just going to tell you that it's just outstanding, and you know, you work with you work with our constituency, and if you have to be a little bit hardball, but you have to be, a little bit kind of a softie too, and as long as they pay the late fees, now, if because they're non-compliant, and if they do have a release, we're not covering the release. They know
Right,
that.
right. But I guess if we're gonna be terminating them early, is that gonna result in more situations where the AG's office is gonna be asked to do the work to refer matters to state's attorneys for possible criminal prosecution, or did we just do that because that one had a significant amount? I guess.
Significant amount, and there were some circumstances that we were concerned about.
Yeah, well, I guess if, for what my 2 cents is worth, I tend to agree with Brandon's point that eventually if we get these people back in, it's a moneymaker because of the late fees they have to pay. Secondly, I think it's consistent with the overall policy of what the purpose behind this is to protect the public when there's releases. And if we can get people back in rather than cut them out, that provides more protection for the public in the big picture. And
Well,
then just from a selfish standpoint, I don't want to have to be dealing with the work of referring to state's attorneys. If there's ways that we can get them to pay rather than cut them out.
the ones you see on the screen, I don't see us sending those to the state's attorney's office.
Okay, yeah.
In light of your comments, Jim, at this time, I'll withdraw the motion. And thank you.
Yeah, I
Just for
didn't mean it to cut that off. I think, there's a line to be drawn, and maybe 5 does go too far, but at the same time, I know that one time we did collect a significant amount when we gave them more chances. So.
And he's been totally compliant since that time.
Point well taken, Ruben.
And Mike, for your record, this is Ruben. Based on the question that we asked earlier, the penalty is $300.
Really?
Yep. But based on hazardous waste regulation, we could go up to 2,500, 25,000 per day if we went to go to that route. But bear in mind that that's only for UST. For AST are not covered. So there is no way that we can track down ASTs, only USTs. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ruben.
Yep.
Dwayne, you want to talk about, you kind of have, but review number 6, the fees collected outstanding.
Pardon me?
Number 6.
That's what we have right here in front of us. You can see that one's blacked out because the day that I made this report, they paid. So our protocol is it's if we have somebody that's outstanding, I make a personal phone call and try to get a hold of the person that's paying the bill. And we've significantly improved our collection process over the 3 years that we've had them. We have collected less. We are 0.25% of the fees we have not collected. 2.5%, not 2.5%, 0.25%.
Quarter of a percent.
A quarter of a percent, which is insignificant. Statistically, it's insignificant.
So then we'll move on to
Okay.
fund balance report.
All right. Okay, so in your packet, do you guys have the packet from the Environmental Quality Accounting Office? So what we're showing after total liabilities at the end of the year, fiscal year, which was July 30th, 5.227 million. I think I have copies of that. Did you guys get copies of that?
I got that electronically, Dwayne.
Okay. All right, so let's go to the State Investment Board reports. Okay, so this is as of 6/30/22, which would have been the end of the fiscal year. They're telling us that in the fund, they have for us 5.9 million. Now, that doesn't take into the account of the reserves that we have to subtract from that balance, because we set up a reserve for every claim that comes through to the fund. And that reserve is money that we take away from that balance so that we have enough money to cover future remediation costs in that claim. So every claim gets a reserve. The reserves aren't always the same, because a historic spill, you can only get $25,000 for a historic spill. That's the way the administrative code is, or the century code is set up. But if it's a project where you got to remove a whole bunch of soil, well, that could be a $500,000 or $600,000 reserve. So basically, what we have, you can see that there's a $300,000 reduction from last year at this time. Most of that is depreciation in the stock market hit that we took, to the tune of about $300,000. We spent a little money in claims too, but you can see the losses here. The depreciated value, $389,000. Okay, and then let's move along to the report. The latest report the State Investment Board has is as of August 31st of 2022, and we went up about $8,000 from that point. So we've recovered some of that, but we're still under the $6 million statutory limit that was set by the legislature way back in 1989. So we're supposed to have $6 million, and that's what prompted the change in the fee schedule, so that we can try to reclaim that $6 million reserve or balance in that fund. Any questions on that?
If there are no questions, then we'll go to the open claims report of September 30th.
Okay, so here we go. This is the only new claim that we've got so far this fiscal year, Jacobson Transport. There's a possibility of another one coming through, another historical claim. Again, you can see that the reserve was set at $25,000. That's because it meets provision 23.1-12-19, which on historic claims reduces our liability to $25,000, because we don't know when the release happened. It was put in by the legislature who knows how many years ago. And so we've pretty much followed that, haven't we, Jim, on those types of claims?
Yep, sorry, it took me a second to unmute my mic.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had several of those. I don't know the exact number.
So, and those people all have to be currently insured with the fund, or in the situation where the tank removal might have come, the discovery was determined at the time they removed the tanks, they were insured at that time. But if the environmental consultant comes back and says it's a historic claim, which means you can't put a date on when that release happened, we're going to say that we're going to limit our liability to $25,000.
Can I ask a question here? So on these historic claims like this, are we, I know this probably isn't a fund question, probably more of a DEQ question, but are we following up on those to make sure that those are actually getting cleaned up and monitored, and all of the proper steps are being taken to remediate those damages?
That's correct. The DEQ division that's responsible for the cleanup is the ones that are dictating to the responsible party what needs to be done. So in the case of an underground storage tank, Rubens people would be making sure that it met the criteria that they would, there might be institutional controls that are put in place where you can't put a basement in there or something to that effect. But yeah, they have to follow the cleanup protocol, but we're just limiting our liability to $25,000.
I see here, Dwayne, you responded to Tony Bernhardt's suggestion that we list the contractors on here, and I think that was a good suggestion.
Yep.
Anything else?
Nope.
Ruben, do you want to? Sure. This little report.
Sure. I will start here with Inner Base Co-op in Washburn. That site is just waiting for all the well to be abundant. And then after that, we will close it. So there's nothing coming in now, except waiting for the well to be abundant. Petroleum in West Fargo. That's the site that we've been monitoring that site because of Baker adjacent to the property. So we are just vigilant about the kid in that daycare. Make sure that there's nothing getting in it. And as far as we know, there's nothing that has been detected yet in the basement, that daycare. So we asked for another 2 years of round of samples. Then after that, we will see. Possible we will close it. And the third one, Farmers Union bought in Hessen. This site has been going on since 2012, and you guys know about it. So, last fall, we decided to bid it out, and we bid it out to American Engineering Testing out of Rapid City. They did risk-based assessment in summer. The report is now on our desk to be reviewed. Possibly, we will close it based on the recommendation, unless if something surfaces. But we will close that based on the rest.
Is that Paul Dahl's location?
Yep, that's it.
So there was work there.
Yeah. Yep, there was work done this summer.
$120,000.
Yep.
Was that a dig and remove?
No, they just did a risk assessment. They run calculation on the migration or the transportation of
So we did
product.
the 120 was just for a risk assessment?
Yep.
That and monitoring, I think there was some
And the
monitoring
monitoring
too.
well, because the risk assessment monitoring well that were installed at that location, I think that what jacked up the price.
But keep
Because
it
they
in
have
mind,
to do the full delineation of the site. It
That's
wasn't
been-
properly delineated.
that's been almost 11 years with the bills
Yep.
too.
So,
So it's running us about.
But they haven't removed the drop.
No, there was nothing, I don't think there was
It
any.
was all just work.
They didn't remove anything.
How did, so it started in 2011, right?
Yep, about then, and then they were just monitoring that site and the product were not dropping or anything. So we were curious, why is product not dropping? There's no irrigation done at that location. And there's a residential to the east of the property. That's why we recommend risk assessment to be done, make sure that there's nothing getting to the well, because they have a private well on the property.
There hasn't been anything getting into the well in 10
Nothing.
years, though.
Nothing yet. So.
Okay.
Yep. So that site will be closed to Wilson. Wilson, this used to be Harmon Oil. That site has been going back and forth. They had some well put in there, and then they destroyed the well. So we asked for reinstallation of those well. And I think city covered, right, Dwayne?
What's that?
For the well reinstallation at.
Yeah, but I think, yeah,
The city covered, but.
we didn't cover the
Yeah.
replacement of the
Cover that
wells.
cost, but we bid it out. and we approved the process for drilling of the well recovery, so they're going to recover some product at that location. So I think it was American Engineering that was awarded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so they're going to do recovery of the product at that location.
Question for you, Ruben. So on a deal like that,
Yeah,
there's different companies. You send out a request for proposal to the different companies, or how does that work?
based on the WAIN program, for every site to be worked on, in order to be reimbursed, they have to send in 3 bids. And then we will review those 3 bids. Whatever the bid that come with the best technology to do the work will be the one that we go for.
So Braun, Intes, American Engineering, they all have to bid.
Yep.
Okay.
So they have to bid and then we will select one.
That particular site, the fund originally paid the Herman Trust Fund site. And then the city of Williston bought the site. The tanks were still there and they removed the tanks. So they're the claimants now. And there was a new deductible and a new full payment schedule. And actually, we changed the
So was
claim
that
number.
a tank leak or a piping?
It was a tank bid,
So they dug the tanks out, they didn't get it all?
didn't get it all because there was already product on the ground that's been leaking for a long time, so. And plus piping too, so we can't tell which one it was.
Again, that's an old claim that goes back
Yeah.
to 2014
And-
before we
And that
even got
location
involved.
is really bad location. It used to be a slough,
Yeah.
and then they dump all the piling in there and level it out. So when that leak occurred, it just go into those pores. So, yeah.
Okay.
New Century Egg in Westby. Westby is in Montana basically, but this tank was set on the state line, so it was on our side. Pretty much work has been done at that location. We're just waiting for the report. They did an excavation and removed all the contamination. So we waiting for the report to review it. Possible we'll close that site too.
Yeah, but that's gonna run us about $500,000 to clean.
Really?
That's what, yeah, because they're removing more soil.
Yeah.
So it's a $500,000 bill. That's what the bid came in at.
Okay.
So that's gonna be about a $675,000 claim by the time we get done. Again, that goes way back to 2016 and 17.
13.
13.
Remember, how many cubic yards are they gonna remove for 500?
1,000 cubic yards.
Are they landfilling it or?
No, they took it to, oh yeah, they landfilled it. $29 a cubic yard, which is a pretty good price, but the transportation's what eats you up. The transportation just eats you up.
Yeah.
If it would have been done in 2017, the fund should have been on top of it. And it probably would have cost us half that money.
That was an AST, yes.
Those were ASTs. It's an AST leak.
Farmers Union in Wilton. We're monitoring that. Monitor will continue until next year, then we'll evaluate that side too. Flying Jet. This is another site that we sent out for a bid because Flying J hired their consultant out of Denver. And that consultant did not do good damn work. So we just cut it loose. And we sent it out for bidding again, and then the bids. Then the other 2 companies, I think was Brown Intertech and Intes.
Yes, yeah.
So we awarded the contract to Intes. Intes is going to do some recovery at that location.
That was ATS that did the original work, right?
ATF was,
They were junk and they cost us $180,000.
Yeah.
Again, that was prior to the DEQ's time
Yeah.
with the fund, but they just wasted our money. So the agreement that we had with Pilot was that they would establish a new deductible and a new co-payment. But that site's gonna cost us about $250,000 to clean up.
And yeah, and that location, I think
ugly
we're
site.
almost maxing out. I think the only thing left for them now is 720 something.
Yeah, they've got,
Yep, and then they will be maxed out of the $1 million.
yeah.
Then we will recruit.
Hopefully it does,
probably
hopefully they
second
don't max out that $1 million, but they could.
That's fine, J mine.
Yep.
Yeah,
Fine,
pilot.
fine.
Beans.
It's a pilot
Pilot.
pilot out of, what the heck, Andover,
Yep,
whatever.
used to be beam oil. Another side with the head.
Yeah, that goes
because
way
there has
back.
been
It's just a
lot of
mess,
Very leak at that location.
just a mess.
Minimark in Minot, open job. That side is another mystery site. We were almost to the point of closing it, and then products show up again in one well. So we are monitoring that location. One-way 47. That's the one west of Mandan. And there is we just issue no further action needed. Pending well abandonment, so we will abandon the well. And I think they have the case in the court. So for that side. I don't know where we are with it. I think,
We're not gonna discuss it.
yeah, so that's where it is. Safari Fuel in Williston. We just asked for another round of annual groundwater monitoring. Because well 1 and well 3 are still acting up on us, so. If we see the trend dropping on that, then we will close it. Finally, town and country in Cooperstown is off the book. So we issue no further action letter on that. It's closed. They have a brand new tanks at the location. Stop. Dakota Square in Minot. They're still monitoring that site. There's no substantial decrease on their well and groundwater samples, so we're still monitoring that. United Co-op in Newtown. That under monitoring too. Well number 5 was destroyed. And they're going to replace that too. Then also they're going to install vapor entry or vapor entry.
That's not there
monitoring.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the
But
street?
EPA is involved with the site across the street.
Somebody was doing the work and then they cut the well off, the top of the well. So it was dismantled, then they have to replace it. They were doing some site.
EPA is supervising that site, right?
Yep, they do. Search oil in Parkway here. Bob Sir used to own that, but Bob passed away last year.
We're dealing with the
But
son
we
area.
are dealing with his son. The hole on that side was railroad, and I think railroad grant them an access, and Brian Intertech is going to do the work at that location.
We should have a monitoring report from Brown Intertech at the end of this fall.
Yep.
They did biannual sampling, so
Yeah.
we'll see what it is.
Quicker Serve USA in Grafton, that site is closed. We issue no further action at that location. Pharmaceutical oil in Norby, that site is still under monitoring. Come and go in Williston, that location is under monitoring too. versus convenience store. This is AST. We're still doing full investigation at that location. So,
The bank in Williston owns that property.
yeah,
It looks like there's a very good possibility there'll be institutional controls put in place there.
100%.
We're gonna spend about $650,000 there.
What do you mean by institutional control?
Can't build, you could
There
You
would
could
be a
put
restriction.
like a cement slab on the property, but you can't build a basement or something.
There will be a restriction
What will the
for the usage of
600,000
the
for?
site.
Pardon?
So what's the 600,000 for?
We took out 10,000 cubic yards
Oh.
of soil.
Yeah, that was for the.
Oh.
10,000 cubic yards, two great big holes in the ground. You can see it from Google Earth.
All right, red carpet in West Fargo. And then another red carpet in Bismarck. Two of them in Bismarck. During their sale, they did phase two assessment at the location and they came across the condemnation. So we asked for further work to be done at those three locations. So now they are doing more investigation.
Parkland USA owns those sites now.
So
At this point in time, they haven't turned any bills into us. Parkland hasn't. They've had a couple of on the run stores where they had some contamination too, but they haven't turned any. They filed claims, but they haven't turned any invoices in. So we haven't paid them a dime at this point in time. What we're waiting for is,
cases
can bill.
in Fargo. That site is closed. We issue no further action. We offer both. That's the last one. Any question? Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben.
Yep.
Ruben's done a nice summary. You can read through the summaries, summarized each of those sites in his document that I sent out by email. So thanks, Ruben, for all that work. That's a lot of hard work.
Thanks.
Item 10, what do you want to discuss about the rules?
Well, we sent out, what we did, Matt, is we sent out the latest draft that was drafted by the committee that's been put in. Ruben, I'm still going through your stuff. Hang on just a second. We get to the rules. There we go. Okay, so this is chapter 31.1-12-02, not 01, but 02. So it falls underneath the Century Code for the Petroleum Tank Release Compensation Fund Century Code. So the committee has drafted the rules that I sent out to you. I've also got hard copies for those of you that would entertain a hard copy. Everybody got one?
Ruben, you got one online?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I don't know. So. Thank you.
So Scott Raddick has done the administrative work on this. I can tell you what our intentions are with these rules. Our intentions are to run them past the Petroleum Tank Release Compensation Fund Board, Advisory Board, to see if there's any changes or suggestions or what have you that you might have before we send it out for public comment. Public comment would probably be sometime in February or March with a public hearing. And right now I've suggested to the committee that we don't go ahead and try to install these rules until September 1st of 2023, just because of all the work that the fund has to do to implement our own rules. Because it's going to put, I mean, right now, the biggest question mark is when we adopt these rules, how are we going to enforce these rules? Because it's a rule without any mechanism to fund somebody to look at these, because Ruben's program is busy, they can't do it. And the fund really can't do it because we can't be overseeing, we're supposed to be an unbiased party to, we're not a regulatory agency. We don't have any regulatory authority other than the fact that it's a Class B misdemeanor if you don't.
So when you discuss with Mr. Glad, what does he envision the funding?
We don't have a vision at this point in time. There's a good possibility that half of that position that we're in the process of hiring in the fund could be funded to do the regulatory work. 50-50 job, but we'd have to find some emergency funding. Unless the fund is going to be willing to fund that other half-time position, because
I
right
think
now.
at one time we talked about, with Mr. Glad present, that we talked about, we currently pay an inspection fee that gets buried in the general fund. It doesn't get out. It used to be
Right.
allocated to the state lab. Now it just kind of flounders in the general fund.
Yeah, I think the general fund eats it up.
But I would think that person in Ruben's department is, they're already going around looking at USDs. If they had more help in their department.
Well, there's twice as many ASD sites as there are USD sites. We insure almost 3 times as many tanks in the ASD program as we do the USD program. So, I mean, I guess like maybe we've placed the cart before the horse to put the rules in place, but we know that we need to have rules. It's just how.
Well, I'll tell you, Dwayne, I think what would maybe be appropriate that, in addition to the tank fund, that we share copies of these, can we share copies of these proposed rules with our board?
With which board?
North Dakota Petroleum Board?
That's a question for our general counsel. Do you guys have an answer, either Maggie or Jim, on that question? Hello?
Yeah, this is Maggie. You're talking about to share this draft of the AST rules?
Yes.
Yeah, they're out now in the public, so I don't see that as being an issue.
Yeah, sorry, it took me a little bit of time to unmute my mic again, but I don't see that there's any issues either. I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't be able to share those.
Well, we could maybe, by doing so, we could request people on the boards to offer comments to those of us on the Petroleum Tank Fund Board. And of course, later on during the process, anybody can offer an additional or subsequent comment, and the rules are actually put out.
Yeah, once we place it out for public comment, anybody can make a comment on the rules.
We could maybe facilitate the process a little by giving comments ahead of the public comments, and
that's our intent.
yeah. So we will get copies of this and share it with our.
Yeah, I gave Mike,
There's 4 or 5 here. Yeah,
Okay.
we can make comments.
Yeah. Could I ask a quick question here? So you're talking about, we have these rules, or we're looking at implementing some rules here, but there's no teeth because there's no enforcement. But really, shouldn't that be part of the DEQ to be following up on the enforcement? After all, this is the Petroleum Tank Released Compensation Fund, not the Petroleum Tank Enforcement Fund. So, I mean, I understand that we need to have some rules in place and guidelines and stuff like that, but shouldn't that really be up to the DEQ to actually enforce those rules? And should those funds really be coming out of or that those expenses for enforcement be coming from the DEQ and not from the petroleum tank release compensation fund? Because it's,
No, I think that's thanks for clarifying that, Brandon. I think that's exactly correct. It may involve DEQ going and asking for more money for FETs, but that's something in the legislative process that we can show up and, I mean, when you have a regulated party come and ask for funding for more regulators, it usually doesn't cause too much of a problem, but I think your point's well taken. It's that it's a DEQ thing for compliance assistance and enforcement, because it's going to take, the people we have at the DEQ are very well educated and informed, and there's a lot of crossover, even though some are above ground, some are below ground, especially when it comes to the requirement for leak detection on dispensers being fed by ASCs, and that's right up their alley. So I think you're 100% correct, Brandon.
We did a quick calculation of if you were to see 5 sites per week, it would take you almost 2 years to see every site with one inspector. And of course, you know, I think Reuben's people are pretty well,
Oh, yeah,
pretty full.
above.
So, I mean, the biggest issue is, can we find some funding through the legislative, you know, body to fund this? And right now, it's not in our budget for 2024, 2025 by any.
But it wouldn't be in the tank fund budget. It should be in.
No, it's not in the DEQ budget.
Yeah.
We did not submit an FTE for this position. And you probably couldn't do it with one FTE, you might need 2. So
So again, there's quite a bit of crossover. I mean, if they're making a visit to Larimore, North Dakota to look at a gas station, it's not gonna take another day to look at.
There's a bulk plant there, yeah.
There's, you know, it could be having it all wrapped up within Reuben's group would lend itself towards efficiencies. We're talking about more help, Reuben, come on.
I can't say anything about that now, so, because like Dwayne stated earlier, the way we are running now, AST are more than UST, I think the double UST,
I think
and we are really top on
I think that one spreadsheet tells you how many AST.
Because I have only 4 inspectors.
Right.
That's the entire program. 4 and half. Basically, that's a half that we borrowed from.
I think it
So we
would,
need to round you up another one.
it'd
So
take a
it's
concerted
not
effort
the
to
2
go
or
after
3.
the legislative.
Might work, but the way we are, it's hard. It's very challenging.
And perhaps the way we could do it, I mean, you could do it through emergency funding or something to that effect. But, you know, that's a question that I really can't answer. That's a Dave Black question. But we've talked about the fact that, you know, I mean, biggest thing is, do we go forward and put the rules in place without a mechanism to, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Or do we just keep functioning the way we are and not have, in the AST situation, it ends up being wild, wild west?
Well, there could be some prioritization within Reuben's group too, I mean, I would think number 1 would be maybe visit those sites that are dispensing with underground lines and get that loophole closed in a hurry. We wouldn't be looking at Highway 47 if we had that capability prior.
well, I think, I don't know why we would hold off on getting the rules in place, even if we're getting the cart before the horse a little bit here, because we need to establish these rules. And then hopefully with the establishment of the rules, that will help with enforcement later on down the road. so that people between now and whenever we get the proper funding and staffing to do the enforcement and whatever that entails, maybe they will be more in compliance, because if they're going to comply with it as it is today, in a couple of years, things may change. So that's just my thought.
The industry agrees, Brandon, almost unanimously that certain things with ASTs, especially these underground lines, need to be looked at, so. You gotta start somewhere, and we're off to a good start. So we can all review this, proposed rule further, and then next time we meet, we can bring forth any comments from ourselves or from other people that are in the industry that have looked at them and have an interest.
What do you think of the time frame that I laid out for sending it out to public comment, having a public hearing, and then
You
shooting
thought that'd be
for
February?
February, March, but we're not looking at implementing the rules
Right.
until October 1st of 2023.
I would think that'd be doable, don't you guys?
Sure. Yeah, I don't think so.
Because that gives us time to, the focus of the fund for the next 8 months is getting our portal ready so that we can accommodate the new fee structure. That's a huge component. It's gonna cost us probably about 25 to 30 grand to, get the programming done. But we've proven that how valuable that portal is when we get almost 75 to 80% of the people using that portal to register their tanks. And it really helps with the collection part of it, all of that.
So, do we have any, new business?
No, we can't even bring up any new business.
Oh, we can't.
It's a special meeting,
So we can't bring up old business either.
not unless it's on the agenda.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Second,
Brandon, I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you both for joining, and
All
thank
right.
you, AG's office.
Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna terminate the recording now. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good day. Good night.
I'm hungry. Operated 9 days.
I bought some.
Because, in the month of, thank you, yep.